from time to time it's very important that we explore the entirety of the ocean. So if we limit ourselves to, say, the shore or the beach, you see, we actually forget to explore. We forget to explore the vastness of the ocean. So it's very important as seekers of the tariq, seekers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we limit ourselves, like I was mentioning, when you limit yourself to the beach or the shore, you forget about the vastness of the oceans, the vastness of the ocean, the depth of the ocean, and how the Mashaykh have differentiated the Zahiri, Batin, the internal, external, physical and spiritual path is quite easy to understand. First and foremost, this earth is primarily water. Your body is primarily water. When you fill a cup, it is primarily water. Not that water has any such significance, but it is an indication that it is the contents of the thing which give it its substance, give it its value. Not what you think is external. Like, for example, if we have this desire to wear, alhamdulillah, the beautified sunnah, well, that is not the contents of the person, that is the shell of the person. And we can easily decorate the shell. But if the water, the actual fruits are contaminated, eventually it will seep through to the body. And that is why you see many people, after some time, will start to wither away on the spiritual path because of difficulty they have. You see, because focus was given to the shell, focus was given to the body, the outer, exterior of the person. Now, you see cars. Which car drives with no engine? No car. Which car drives with only seats or a steering wheel? Yes, the whole car can have these things. Without the engine and the maintenance of the engine, eventually the car will fail as well. The car will fail. And that is what if a person does not take due care, due diligence, and gives focus to the internal self, eventually he becomes like this car with no engine. Or he becomes this cup with no water. Or the earth with no seed. And that is what actually happens. And that's the danger. So one of the subjects highlighted by our teacher is actually called the talib of the person. What is the talib? The talib, in other words. Talib has a very particular meaning. It means having a desire and determination to acquire something unique or special. Not something ordained, not something that is easily obtainable. That is when you are given the title of talib. So sometimes you will see, or when a person goes to madrasa, or he goes to jamia, or he goes to an Islamic institution of knowledge, they give them the title of talibul ilm. Talibul ilm. You heard this before, haven't you? You hear this word, talibul ilm. You see, because they have become seekers of knowledge. So talib in its easiest essence, twisted is that its meaning, you can't just be a talib of storms and of the winds and of the rain. Meaning these things are ordained. There's nothing special or unique in them whatsoever. Meaning they have their own fruits and values, but meaning in terms of remember when we're talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's nothing comparable, there's nothing comprehensible. So for us to put meaning something of dunya in comparison to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not make sense. We actually fall into a trap in that sense. The talib is a person who has strong passion which motivates a person to do anything to achieve his goal and fulfill his desire. So you see, the talib al-ilm, whatever is in his grasp, whatever is in his ability, he will do this to obtain the knowledge. So knowledge of hadith, knowledge of fiqh, knowledge of aqidah, knowledge of Quran. He might become a hafaz, he might even go on to become a mufti, he might go on to become a great scholar, qari, lama, maulana, he might even go on to become all these things. But on the spiritual path, talibul ilm is not even in the question. It's not even in the question. And it never has been. Because, again, you're trying to give substance to something. You know, talib gives substance to something. A person can only become a true talib of ilm when they become a talib of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is when the knowledge comes to light. That is when the knowledge becomes a reality. Knowledge becomes a persona, it becomes a body. Because how many people do we see of our time and in our generation, and I put myself in this category as well, is that when a person has some amount of knowledge or he has a lot of knowledge, they don't act upon it. You see, it's because he is not a person who fits into the category of them. Meaning, he's not passionate, he's not motivated. Things get in his way, he has obstacles, he has blockages. Meaning the element of talb has not been fulfilled. So meaning and another way to differentiate and the words begin with W and W. What is it? Does anyone have a guess? So one is wishing and the other one is willing. That's the difference. A person is of wishful thinking. So meaning he may embark upon the journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but he has wishful thinking. That, okay, I just need to maintain what I have, and eventually I will reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In very rare circumstances this happens. Very rare circumstances. It does not happen like an ordinary thing. Very rare. And that's something on the experience of our teacher. That meaning a person does not just elevate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is some effort, however minuscule or however major, there is some effort required from the person. So if now the person who has wishful thinking on the path to Allah, he may, when he embarks, he will think, right, I will just do whatever basic I need to do, and that eventually I will reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is false. You see, which of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's servants did not get tested by Allah azawajal? Which of his servants? All prophets and all messengers were tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan was tested by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the level. So this is the level that we've had to reach. So when we inherit this level, you see that there is a grave difference between that person who has wishful thinking and who has a willful desire. Because you see, there's two kinds. One is, so that's where a person, he has willful thinking and he has wishful thinking. So when a person has wishful thinking, you see, sometimes it's very strange. Because it's like as though Shaitan, he's aware what we're doing. Shaitan knows, meaning that we are actually talking about something maybe he does not like so much. So meaning sometimes in the most bizarre ways, Shaitan can actually cause an interruption. Shaitan can cause an interruption in some way, shape or form. Just keep that one as a backup inshallah if it happens again. So that's why when a person, they are wishful and they start the tariq. They will think, right, okay, I just need to do my basic um, sheets, I can do my amal, I can do my scars, and eventually I will reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, a person will obtain. But then, because a person did not set out with a determined effort, with a clear goal and vision what they want to achieve, eventually they will fall short. They will fall short. Because the mission statement of himself does not match the mission statement of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The mission statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not match. And the mission statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the mission statement of all messengers, and mainly the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that the mission statement is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. La ilaha illallah in summary means what to do. Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam means how to do it. So that is the difference. And the person who is willful and is prepared for any blockages in his way, he will overcome. He will go beyond the notions of society, of his family, and anything else that comes in the way. He will then actually travel very quickly towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he is more committed to the path. And you can see this actually very, very early on. Who has this level of commitment? You can get a grasp for it very quickly. Those people that do not take the path very seriously, in 3 to 4 years' time, they will actually fall into this very like a whirlpool, or like a tornado. Sometimes they rain, sometimes they're out, then they get controlled by the hawa, waswasat, and shaitan, and that's what happens. So you see, again, there is 3 types been summarized, and it was mentioned by our Shaykh Ahmad Dabbagh, and they referenced this book from the teaching of Hazrat Ustaad Abaid, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, a great Sufi mystic and very wise individual who lived in the Indian subcontinent, around the Multan area, great wisdom, many murideen, and was amongst the hierarchy Qutub and awliya of that time. And he actually mentioned in his major works that a person who does not, and this was synonymous amongst awliya and mashayikh of this time. Nowadays, mashayikh of our time, they want to have murideen and actually try to get try to gather rupees as much as one can. So you see that the murideen, they would come to Hazrat Sultan Bahu, and they would mention, oh Hazrat, how can we benefit from you? And he would say to them quite simply, is that if you spend 40 days in my company and you have not purified your nafs, because this time people would travel and stay in the Hanaka and Zawiya of the Sheikh at these times. And they would do chilla and halwa away from family and people, and then take back the teachings into the society and locality. One of the wisdoms of our teachers is that we're actually doing chilla in the open world. Meaning we do 1-2 day chilla and open day, but we have to actively try to transmit the blessings and the details from our whatever we learn into our day-to-day life straight away. Whereas at those times they would spend maybe 40 days, 50 days in the company of Sheikh, and then they would transmit that knowledge into the world and do the dawah towards the people and invite people towards the spiritual path. But our time is very different. We need to now simultaneously do it because of commitment and lifestyle that we live. It's very difficult. So that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and the Prophet mentioned in hadith, that at the turn of each century, we will send a reviver, a mujaddid, who will revive the deen, who will bring it back to its truest form, to the nearest meaning, I'm paraphrasing, and that person will basically revive the religion in its truest format, not this hocus style that you see on TikTok and Instagram. This is the real style that has been taught, meaning the way of tazkiyah, the way of tasawwuf. This thing is not something of new. You see, the modern day, the people who call themselves Ahl al-Hadith and these type of things, these people are actually quite away from the Salaf in that sense. They're not following the Salaf in regards to the way they actually understood the deen, like Imam Hanifa, and they will say just DIY, whatever you feel like doing, do this. This is a totally incorrect methodology. So the three categories of the person that was mentioned. The first one is talib dunya. So those who use their knowledge and skills, expertise and may and might to attain the worldly success and pleasure, and consider this their primary aim of life, to the extent that even the aim of their invocation and the contemplation, the salah and devotion, their recitals and all the weird and mystic exercises is to acquire and increase worldly aspect and respect. For them, the gain of worldly respect and pleasure is the real success. So first and foremost, ask yourself, are you talib dunya? Are you a person, you have a certain skill set, like for example, you have ability to write, you have ability to do maths, you have ability to do to drive, you have ability to do, and there's so many skills of the world, like you can't go through them all one by one. The ability of taking care of people, or you have ability of speaking. Now, what are you utilizing your skill for? Now, those brothers, like I always show, I know that the brothers who have the knowledge and want, who do the media and stuff like this, you see how useful it comes in. You see, every single person, sometimes it's better to know than not know. Otherwise, difficulty arises. So what are you using your skill set for? Is it for dunyavi attainment, or is it for something else? Have you fallen into the category of talib dunya? The second one is talib uqba, the seekers of paradise. And their aim is to make their life of the hereafter happy. For them, the real success is to get rid of the fire of hell and to get hold of the hours and the bounties of paradise. All their devotion, their mystic exercise, the thing whereby they uphold the shawl of the Sufi, the piety, the fasting, the prayer, the hajj, zakat, the invocation and glorifications are meant only to gain a happy life in the hereafter. For them, this is the only maqsad, the only objective of this life and the true success. So again, are you talib uqba? What is it that you're trying to obtain? Are you after paradise only? Are you only in search of paradise because you fear the punishment of hellfire? Then you have fallen into the talib uqba. The final one is the talib mawla, the seeker of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, one of the final ones, should I mention. All their prayers and their struggles are meant only to seek didar, the vision, qurb, closeness, the visual union of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Neither are they seekers of the pleasure of this world. Neither are they seekers of the bounties of paradise. They are seekers and lovers of Allah only. They gave up the desires of both worlds for the desire of didar ilahi, to behold the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning the seeking of Allah only. And when you look for this, meaning people actually sometimes get confused, because a lot of the people who will become attracted to these da'is on TikTok, or the da'is who come and they talk about modern day affairs and stuff like this, they are pulling you towards the uqba, the talib uqba, meaning to be focused primarily on the heaven. Whereas it is mentioned here by Sayyidina Sultan that the status of these groups have been described in the following Hadith Qudsi. And before I mention that, he mentioned that the Arifin will only advise you to become the seekers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will not advise you to become something else. They will not advise you to become something else, only to be the seeker of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they mentioned the Hadith Qudsi. They said the seeker of this world is like someone of feminine nature, a man of feminine nature. The seeker of the heaven is a woman, and the seeker of Allah azawajal, meaning he's become like a rajul. He's become, meaning even this applies to women as well, meaning that he is only desired what the Prophet desired, only desired what the actual prophets desired, what the men of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desired. Sayyidina Sultan al-Arifin, Hazrat Sultan Abaid mentioned, and I'll finish on this point because the microphone is not playing ball today, unfortunately. And this is why sometimes there's I wanted to refrain from mentioning as such, but this is why it's so important that we don't use this microphone. Yes, maybe the masjid and they provide these facilities, but sometimes that it causes disruption. Now it will even pick up on the YouTube as well. So, and you can see there should be no such noise happening. But this is sometimes the work of shaitan. The shaitan whispers into the heart of one person, and then all of a sudden everything turns pear-shaped. And we always need people who are prepared to back up and make sure that they are ready. You see, I can tell you, I won't even mention this point, I'll mention something else if the microphone decides to work. Is that there was once one of the men of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he was, again, this is the submission they had to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a call for jihad came, a man was just, he was not even in the state of ghusl. He was not even in the state of ghusl. And when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the alarm came that jihad, the time for jihad has come. And when the time of jihad came, he left his quarters, he left his house. Not even in the state of ghusl. He left his house, and in the jihad he died. What do you think happened to this person? Sahabi, blessed Sahabi. When he died on the battlefield, and like the martyrs, they would get buried in the position they died, unless it is difficult to do so. So when he died, one of the companions mentioned that when the Prophet ﷺ made inquiry who has actually passed away, this companion's name was mentioned. I can't remember his name, but in future speeches I will try to recall the name. And it was mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ said that this person's body was lifted from the floor. The angels performed his ghusl, and then he went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see, this is the same thing. What you are doing is that you are doing the same thing. I am doing the same thing. Me sitting here is a jihad against my nafs. You sitting there is a jihad against your nafs. Yes, we cannot go and fight physically. Maybe we don't have the capability. We don't have the body. We don't have the structure. We're not prepared mentally. We can't take a small cut. But when the call comes, the call of one's teacher, who I and you have said we submit to, when that call comes, it should be the foremost thing on our mind. Otherwise, you are submitting to something other than the teacher, unless with genuine reason. Now, this Sahaba died a very blessed death. And also, you are also on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you come to this gathering, you're on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You came for Isha Jamaat, you prayed in Jamaat, would you pray in Jamaat today? Yes, no. Some no, some yes. You see how blessed we are. But yeah, we take these moments for granted. And these moments are only, these moments you can count. You can count. There is a number, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 200, maybe it's 1,000. But there is a number to these blessings. How much will you obtain? How many of them will you be present with? So they are numbered. Don't think and don't believe that they are infinite and ultimate and are unlimited. They are limited to a number. And that number for each and every one of us is different. So and the date and how long we live is also very different. So don't think for a moment that these blessings are unlimited and we can do whatever we want, and when we're older we'll do and enjoy in good and forbid in evil. It won't work that way. How many people do you see in the graveyards buried under 25? So many. How many people over 25? Probably equal, if not slightly more. So you see, don't take these moments for granted. And also contemplate and reflect, what are you a talib of? What are you in search of? Are you in search of something other than Allah azawajal? Then it's a time and a moment to reflect. Maybe if there is anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you're trying to obtain, we can always sit down. Most of you, all of you have my number. You can ring me and text me and we can speak. We know what are the issues and try to collectively come to a conclusion. Don't ever feel that a person I am off limits or off bounds. There's no such thing. I am your brother and I am one with you, and no one should ever feel in this way. So inshallah, without further ado, we'll move on to the zikr majlis. We will try to keep it short, maybe finish at 9:09, so that everyone can, now the Saturdays are free. I hope that everyone can now enjoy their Saturday afternoons and whatever plans they have, inshallah, they carry out. Hopefully, inshallah, now we can make this Thursday fruitful. Jazakallah.